Hi everyone, it's Jack and Wolf Brother Methos here with Warhammer Online to bring you the Space Wolf Codex. Woo! Woo! Hi guys, so today we thought we would do something a bit different because usually when we do this kind of stuff we get a lot of questions after we post the videos upon things we've missed out and that people want to know. So today I am joined by what is probably the biggest Space Wolf fan in the world, Methos. So welcome Methos to this video. And
what is up, beautiful people?
And today, as you can probably guess, we're looking at something which is actually quite personal to me because it was the first army I ever got into whilst playing the hobby back when I was like, oof, probably about 9 years old, to be honest, when I got into it. So as you can guess, we're looking at the Space Wolf Codex today. So yeah. I'm pretty excited for this. I think Methos as well is pretty excited for this by the sounds of it. So
I am pumped for this.
Yep. Without further ado, let's take a look into the books.
Before we actually take a look at the Codex, Jack, do you mind if I ask you, what are you looking forward to the most in this Codex or in this release in general?
Yes, well, I think for me, what I'm looking forward to most is probably the wolves. I mean, it was the reason I got into the Codex. It was the reason I started the army, was these big men in big armor plates riding these bigger wolves and just munching their way through everyone. So I think looking at the Thunder Wolves and the Wolf Lords themselves, because I personally love the backstories behind the Wolf Lords, even more to the ones mounted on Thunder Wolves. I think it's amazing. So for me, that's probably what I'm looking forward to. I'm also looking forward to getting some of my old models down, repainting them maybe, getting a force together. So I think that's really what's in it for me. What about you?
My brother, I could not agree with you more. I definitely want some Thunderwolf cavalry. Just imagining these really awesome Viking warriors charging across the battlefield on the backs of giant wolves and smashing the face. That's why I picked the Space Wolves to start with.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with them, can you? I mean, they're absolutely amazing models. Rules-wise, they were always amazing. Remember the first tournament I did actually with my dad, a doubles tournament. It was like, I think we'd been playing the game for about a couple of months, and I took a 1,000 point list, which was my Wolf Lord, 6 Thunderwolves, and 5 Bloodclaws, and that was it. I just ran across the table with them. And this was back in the day of the sagas, so the saga of the Warrior Born, if you remember that was my favourite thing ever. I just remember my Wolf Lord running through Termagaunts, getting about 42 attacks built up and then discharging them all onto this one Swarm Lord and taking it down. So I think it's going to be really, really fun to break them out again and bring them back on the table to see what they can do.
They did get quite a nerf when 8th edition came around, so I'm hoping that as we go through the Codex, we're going to see that they're going to return to glory.
Yeah. Okay, so I think without further ado, let's open up the book and get into it. So we're greeted by this lovely artwork. I mean, it's great. We're seeing space wolves just hacking apart and blowing apart these corn demons by the looks of it. By the looks of it, it is Primaries Marines as well. It is Primaries Space Wolves on the front cover with their Stalker bolt rifles. So it's interesting that they're starting to integrate them into the artwork as well. I mean, it was to be expected. So I think
we've seen a little bit of that with the box set, so yes, I agree.
Yeah. So the new box set coming out is Primaries as well. So I think this is very nice artwork. Of course, they always are. A nice cover page. And then we get into the content. Then there's the Sons of Russ, and I think this is going to be all the backstory to the history and the unit backstory, all of that good stuff. Then we've got the companies, which is probably going to be the artwork and advice on building an army. Warriors of the Fang, of course, is going to be all your data sheets, and of course with Space Wolf there's millions of them because we've got about 101 separate characters. As we get into the lore, well, here's the coloured photo of the version on the front cover. So as you can see, Primaries Marines blasting apart corn. Where can you go wrong? Yeah.
While you're there in the table of contents, my Wolf Brother, let me ask you the big question. Okay, you've got the whole table of contents laid out there, and I know there's one question Space Wolf fans everywhere want to know is, is our guy, the Wolf King, back in this codex.
As a data sheet, he is not. But I don't want anyone to start crying yet, because if we look in this very, very last section of the timeline here, it's talking about the bones have pointed to the same future, the return of the 13th Company, the emergence of Magnus the Red, the awakening of Rabute Guilliman are the last verses of the saga that will accumulate in the Wolf time. So this is the prophecy of the return of Leman Russ, and Niall Stormcaller and all the great rune priests have all been looking towards this, and everything they seem to be doing is pointing to the same future. It is pointing to Russ coming back. We've had the 13th Company, the Wolfen that went in with Russ, emerging. We've had Magnus emerging. We've had a Primarch already reawakening. So all the bones are foretelling that Russ will return. I mean,
so we've checked all the boxes on the way to this prophecy so far.
And even more, they are taking this seriously, as Niall and Grimnar and Ulrich the Slayer have awoken Bjorn the Fell-Handed from his slumber, the oldest warrior, someone from the heresy. They've granted the High Rune Priest an audience, but what they have been speaking of has been kept very hush. Nobody else is allowed to hear about it. So, as a whole, in the Codex, no, Russ is not in it, but I think it's safe to assume something will be happening. I think in the future, Russ will be coming out of the war. We've seen demon Primarchs, good Primarchs all returning, so I don't see why not this might be happening.
I agree, my man. It seems like it's definitely setting up something big. And if we take a look at it, I mean, we've already got 2 Chaos Primarchs, 1 good Primarch. You know, it looks like it's time to balance
we need to balance it. Yeah, we're a bit unfair at the minute. So I think Russ is coming back. Niall seems to think so. All the Rune Priests seem to think so. All the signs are there. So I think it is happening, definitely.
Have we seen a Triumvirate box since 8th edition kicked off?
I don't think we have, no. We have the Guilliman one, the Eldar one, and there was one more, wasn't there? Yeah, with
I think it's time.
With Ballestaris Call. So we've had 3. We haven't seen one since 8th edition kicked off, so I think it's time something comes out. Listen, Games Workshop, if you've got him, 3D rendered, hurry up, please. We're waiting for our king to return.
Yeah. All right, so Jack, while you're taking a look at the fluff, one of my questions, I just recently finished reading Dark Imperium, and I got to meet some of the earliest members of the Wolf Spear. While half of the Wolf Brothers were sent back to Fenris, some of them were kept back behind to join the Wolf Spear. So let's talk about, is there fluff in this book about integrating the Primaris into the Space Wolves?
Yes, actually, I think this is going to be something that's on everyone's mind. I know there's a big split in the community about this, whether Primaris are in it or whether they should be, and they have gone into detail about this. And as in the community, there has also been a split within the Wolf Lords, the High Wolf Lords of Fenris. So Guilliman has come to Fenris on his big crusade, and he did drop off battalions of Primaris Space Marines, all shapes and sizes. And the Space Wolves are feeling very depleted at the minute. Their numbers are low. They've been through battle after battle. I mean, there was the fall of Cadia, Magnus returning. They were very wary of them. Some of the Wolf Lords felt that it was a way of Guilliman kind of slipping in the Codex Astartes into their halls. And as you know, the Space Wolves don't like the Codex Astartes. They do not follow it. So they were a bit worried about that. Another thing is they aren't Fenrisian people. They are they haven't seen the winters. They haven't felt the summers. They haven't gone through the tests of Morkai. But something interesting to talk about is that they were actually from the gene seed of Leman Russ. They have been created from Leman Russ. They had genetic stocks of him, so they've created these warriors based on him. So in reality, they are Space Wolves. Leman Russ kind of gathers all the Wolf Lords and says, look, we need these people, we're low. And they grumbled and grumbled, but they agreed to take on the Primaris. Ulrich states he feels that it might be a cure for the curse of the Wolfen. These pure creatures might be what they need to cure the genetic disorder, until they started fighting Dark Elves. And now, by this point, more and more and more of the Primaris have been deployed by the Wolf Lords as they kind of gain the trust of the Wolf Lords. And during a battle against the Dark Eldar raiding parties, several packs of intercessors fighting alongside the Wolfen succumb to the bestial affliction. Rather than using their assault bolters to outrange the witches, they fought the interceptors charge heedlessly into the enemy and use their firearms as brutal makeshift bludgeons. Though sheer animal fury, the interceptors are able to drive off their foe, but after all that, they calm down, they become the intercessors again. So what this is showing is that they aren't immune to this Wolfen curse. As you know from the rules and the story, just being around the Wolfen can drive the blood claws into a giant craze. And this seems to be afflicting the intercessors and the Primaris as well, which I think is very interesting that they're bringing this in. That kind of gene seed from Russ is making its appearance here.
That's super cool. So the Primaris can actually lose control, succumb to the curse, wolf out, and then they revert right back like nothing happened.
Yes, yeah.
I love that because one of my favorite Space Wolf characters of all time is Brand Redmaw, who does the same thing. He wolfs out, loses control, and he's back to being human.
There's also the Primaries Trials, so they've started to undergo the test of Morkai, which, if anyone doesn't know, that is what all wolves must undergo to become a Space Wolf. It's very dangerous, not many of them make it. They must drink from the cup of the Wolfen and still take a 1,000-mile journey across the Fenrisian barrens, bereft of any clothing or weaponry, without succumbing to their bestial instincts. So again, this is a further advancement of the Primaris into Space Wolf culture. So they're now undergoing the tests. They are now becoming part of the Space Wolf army, which I don't mind, actually. I think it's great.
I really, really love that they're bringing them through the trials of Morkai and the whole test of the gates of Morkai too. You know, many of some of the stories say that, you know, that's when they're actually chosen by a wolf spirit, is at the gates of Morkai. So it's very cool to see. So
I'm just going to quickly flip through the rest of the book. As you can see, there's pages and pages and pages of lore on the characters for new players wanting to learn about the army and old players wanting to expand their knowledge, because if anybody likes their named characters, it is the Space Wolves. They have one of the most diverse and, in my opinion, one of the best section of named characters, and I really feel it's part of the army. They're battle line packs, scout packs, they're fire support packs, they're all your heavy hitters, your old long fangs. Bits on the Thunderwolf Cavalry and the Fenrisian Wolves, Dreadnoughts, there's new sections on Wolfen for anybody wanting to know about them, all about the transports. So I think something interesting to state is repulsors are now in the Codex. I mean, I love that. It's one of my favourite models, just bristling with guns. Nothing says Space Wolves more than this big, fast vehicle smashing in, piling out. I think they love it. I think it's great that they've been integrating these new vehicles in. New gunship in there as well. So here, there's all the artwork you could dream of, showing you colour schemes, poses, all the different units. Gathering the pack, it's telling you different ways you can structure your army. So here it's showing Primaris detachments, here cavalry detachments. Of course, this is the fave for me. Before I get into the rules, Methos, what are you really wanting to look at here?
So I want to know that we are going to have more than just, you know, the standard Primaris release for our Space Wolves.
Yes.
So are we getting anything wolf specific in Primaris? Are we getting wolf priests, rune priests? Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you would say that, because there is. I mean, just as there are Primaris chaplains and librarians, here we can see Primaris rune priests. Primaris Rune Priests. There's also Primaris Wolf Priests.
I love Wolf Priests. That's so cool that they're getting a Primaris one.
Yep, okay. So if you like Wolf Priests, they seem to be really, really good this edition. A definite bring for your army. They have their Oath of War, giving you reroll to hits for all units within 6 inches. They boost up leadership, of course, because they are Wolf Priests. They've also got their healing balms, allowing you to heal a model for D3 wounds every turn. So it's a great little addition to run with your Wolf Lords to heal him up every turn, giving him a bit more to go on, keeping him in longer.
And if you keep them with your other Primaris guys, Primaris are usually 2 wounds, so this is going to be really useful having their healing ability.
Yeah, so it's keeping your characters and your bigger units alive. I mean, even the Thunderwolves with how they are now. As you can see, we've got more Wolf Lords, so a Primaris Wolf Lord and Wolf Lords in Gravis armor. Okay, so one thing to note with the Primaris Wolf Lords is you don't have access to the Space Wolf weapons. You don't have your Frost Swords or your Frost Axes. You're very fixed with your Auto Bolt Rifles, your Stalker Bolt Rifles, your Power Swords, and your Plasma Piston Power Fists. So you're not got as much customization for your Wolf Lords as you do your standard ones.
That makes sense too, because I think even in the new box set, the new battle leader comes with a power axe, not a frost axe, right?
Yeah.
And that seems to be something that GW's been really specializing in lately, is that if it doesn't come in the box, it's not a thing.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing to note about that new battle leader, though, that Space Wolf specific battle leader, some people say that the beard modeled on that battle leader was actually posed for by your dad. So, both of us are big fans of Thunderwolf Cavalry. So let's talk about the Thunderwolves. Are they back to glory?
Personally, I think they are. I think they're amazing. So, differences you've seen from last edition is they've been bumped up a wound, as with most things. Everything seems to be a bit more survivable now with more wounds. And your wolf and your character are separate now. I think they were in the index as well, but so you've got 2 attacks with your Thunderwolf Cavalry Rider at strength 4. I mean, if you take your chainsword, you go into 3 attacks. But then you also get an additional 3 attacks at strength 5 minus 1 AP with the wolves. So each model has about 6 attacks with a chainsword, which I think is amazing. That's 6 attacks. It's what you would expect them to be like, just charging in there, going mental at everything, just ripping things apart with their teeth and their claws and their swords.
That does make them excellent, especially for mowing through infantry, mowing through your opponent's Hellblasters or whatever that they have on foot. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to throw a Thunderhammer in there to crack open a tank every now and then, isn't it? Because you can't go wrong with one of them.
Now, with the, hitting on 4s, Thunderhammers were, like, not super reliable to take.
Yeah.
A little more accessible on your pack leader because they had 3 attacks.
Yeah, the additional
one of the things I think that's really going to return these cavalry to glory is their new army-wide ability that they get +1 on the turn that they charge in.
Yes, I think that is something to note. Most people probably have seen it by now because Games Workshop did release it. Your Space Wolf army ability giving you +1 to hit when you charge or get charged. I mean, that's amazing. You're hitting on 2s with Thunderwolves.
Yes. Cavalry hitting on 2s, Thunderhammers hitting on 3s.
You can't go wrong.
Whole pack with Thunderhammers and just crack vehicles wide open now.
I mean, run a Wolf Lord with them and you're re-rolling those hit rolls. So it's just even better. You're even more reliable to get those hits through. I think these Thunderwolves are going to be chomping through infantry like nothing before. And of course, as we saw in the last, in the index, everybody's able to take the melee weapons. Mine were modelled in the old edition when only 1 could take the melee weapons, but I don't mind that. I quite like the chainsword giving me an extra attack. I think it's alright for munching through infantry.
That's fantastic. What's the cost of the wolves right now?
Cost of the wolves, if we flip to the back, looking at Thunderwolf Riders, they're 40 points a model without war gear.
That is 5 points down from their index. So now they're cheaper.
They're even cheaper.
They're hitting on 2s and 3s.
Yep.
I think Oh, they're definitely going to make a comeback.
Oh, I'm gonna be fielding them every time I take an army. Can't go wrong. As we said with the Thunderwolves and they're charging with their +1 to hit, I think something really important to state is the Wolflord's ability. I mean, I did briefly talk about it, but the Jarl of Fenris. Now, you're seeing every single Wolflord being able to take this, and it gives them re-roll to hit rolls of 1 for Space Wolf units within 6 inches of this model. Where can you go wrong? Where can you go wrong with that? I'm just imagining now 15 blood claws, right? Oh, 30 blood claws, that's a dream. 15 blood claws charging in, 3 attacks each, +1 to hit, re-rolling ones. It's just going to be amazing. Your army is going to be devastating on the charge, as they should be. They are Space Wolves, they are the combat masters. So I think this Jarl of Fenris and their battle trait is really pushing forward with the fluff of that.
I think that's going to work amazingly, whether you're putting them on 15 blood claws running in, or you put them in the back with your long fangs, your dreadnoughts. Oh man, they're just going to be re-rolling those las cannons and missile launchers.
It's going to be amazing. And to be honest, talking about vehicles, why don't we flip to the vehicles? Because there is some new additions. So you'll see the familiar Whirlwind Predator Vindicator from the old editions, but something they've also added is Hunter Stalkers. So if you remember them, they're Space Marine vehicles, the big anti-air vehicles. And I think with the addition of these, I quite like it. It's giving your army some really powerful backline shooting to take out those pesky flyers as they come flying over, because you're going to be orienting your army towards combat. There isn't going to be a lot to take out the flyers. Now with the hunters and the stalkers, I think this is something that's really going to help the Space Wolves out in their battles.
And they're such cool looking tanks as they are, aren't they?
The little feet that drop down to secure them in place.
And as a Space Wolves player, one of the things I've struggled with is like Flyrant armies, where you have these big flying creatures just tearing up the chaos hell. Oh my God! I want to call it a Helldrake. Helldrake. There you go. The Helldrake is constantly harassing my lines. I think having some of these at the back will really make a difference.
As well as that, something interesting to state is the Swarmhawk Interceptor. Now, this is very common within Space Marine legions, the little flyer with their Las Storm Talons on the front, is now in the Space Wolf Codex. This little, you've still got your Storm Fang and your Storm Wolf gunships. Where can you go wrong with them? Just a flying cardboard tube through the battlefield. But I quite like the idea of these little fast interceptors swooping through the skies as well.
I think that's going to be phenomenal. You can take the gunship or the Storm Fang to drop off a bunch of troops. But you can also have this little flyer harassing enemy lines. I've always liked the look of it too. A lot of people don't like the look of the Storm Wolf and Storm Fang, even though I like them. They say it looks like a flying box, you know.
Oh, you know, it's like Space Marines, isn't it? What do you expect?
Right, but the Stormhawk really does have that jet fighter kind of look. Another thing that really fits my playstyle, I love running the Space Wolf Dreadnoughts. Where are we with Dreadnoughts in this edition?
Well, I mean, you've got your choice of Dreadnoughts, can I say. There is lots and lots of different data sheets for Dreadnoughts. So starting off, you got your Wolf and Dreadnought. Now, I read this and thought, oh, Murderfang's gone. Oh, that's interesting. But when you look at it, it's not. It's your standard Dreadnought with your axe and shield. But he's Wolfen, so he's got the Murder Lust. He's got more attacks, I think. So it's showing that even these old withering men are still succumbing to the Wolfen curse. So another thing to state is Contempt to Dreadnoughts are now in, so no more dipping into Forge World books. They're in here with their multi-melters, their assault cannons, as well as you've got your Redemptor Dreadnought, so if you're feeling a bit more of a Primaries Wolf style, you can dip into that one, have that big guy walking around the board. And Murderfang. Murderfang's still here. I love him with his big murder claws, his lust to get bonus attacks when he charges. I think it's great. You can't fault that guy.
I've always loved Murderfang. He's cool looking and he just tears through stuff.
Oh yeah, he just doesn't stop, does he?
Now, what's really cool is that Murderfang, you get the whole Wolf and Dreadnought thing going on, but he's stuck with the claws. I love that the new Wolf and Dreadnought can go claws and shield, axe and shield.
Yes. All this stuff, yeah.
He can axe and claws. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. As well as that, you've still got your venerable Dreadnoughts, of course. You can't go wrong with them. I mean, they're unyielding ancient, giving them a 6-up ignore to wounds. So I think it's going to be good to start seeing these guys running around the field.
Speaking of playstyles, I love to run Lucas the Trickster with my Blood Claws.
Yes.
But one thing interesting to notice is that with our new, we get +1 to hit anytime we charge or are charged.
Yep.
I imagine they've probably changed his special ability around because he used to give that to Blood Claws.
Well, yes. So Lucas Trickster, I have him here. He still is, you know, your Blood Claw character, but now he's giving you reroll wound rolls of 1 for friendly Blood Claws within 6 inches.
I mean, love that ability.
Yeah, it's not good enough having +1 to hit. Now you're re-rolling 1s with all your Blood Claws.
You know, one of the things I come across as trouble with is that I love taking Blood Claws and they get 1,000,000 hits.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes they fail to wound because they're only strength 4 and they have no AP.
Yep.
But if we're getting to re-roll wounds, that's going to be amazing.
I mean, it's amazing. He still has his last laugh, so his little stasis bomb that can go off in case somebody kills him, which I love, by the way, that thing. So as soon as his heart stops beating, the stasis bomb goes off and traps you both. I
had that explode on Freak's Lysander model the other night. He killed Lucas and it just exploded all over him.
It's great.
So Logan Grimnar, the High King, we saw on the community page the other day that his stats are now back up to a 2+ save even on Storm Rider.
Yes, so here on Storm Rider he is still save 2-up. You still have the option to have him on foot or on his chariot. I don't see why you would ever not take his chariot. It's such an amazing model.
The model is phenomenal.
Yep. So as we've seen with the Thunderwolves, they get their 3 attacks with their claws and teeth. You still have this with Storm Rider, because as you know, it's being pulled by his 2 Thunderwolves. And they get, on his wound chart, they have 6 attacks to start with, and they go down to 4 on his lower bracket. So you're still getting a lot of extra attacks in there, still at strength 5 -1 AP. So, as the Thunderwolves are, but I think it's great that not only is he smashing from the top of his chariot, his wolves are also getting in there as well.
Now, a lot of people say that with the nerf to the way Cavalry and Storm Rider worked this edition, that he was a little too expensive to take on Storm Rider. Mind if I ask what his point value is now that we've got our Codex?
On Storm Rider, he's now 190 points.
190 points?
Yeah.
That's what his price was on foot before in the index.
Yep.
That's amazing.
It's crazy. I don't see why you would ever not take him, to be honest, as a High King.
So if you were used to taking the High King before, it's almost like you get Storm Rider for free now for the same price.
There's 20 points in it. Logan Grimnar himself is 170, but on Storm Rider he's 190. So it's 20 points for more wounds, faster move, more attacks. It's just...
Oh my god. And you put that with your Cavalry or maybe as a distraction on the other side.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So does Logan's axe still have 2 profiles when he's swinging it?
Yeah, of course. So if you're a veteran Space Wolf player, you'll know the Axe of Mordecai, he's either got it one-handed or two-handed. And in the one-handed mode, it's +2 strength, -3 AP, D3 damage, so not bad. But in the two-handed mode, it's ×2, -3, 3 damage, but you do subtract 1 to hit. So again, it's really one of those, do you want to be quickly slashing it as you move through, or do you really want to smash down hard on a big beast?
And Logan's a 2-up to hit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Would that cancel each other out? You have a +1 to hit from charging, and then a -1 for using the two-handed profile?
Yeah, I assume so.
You might still get that flat 3 damage on a 2-up.
Yeah, mental.
Fantastic. So the High King Logan is the coolest of all Terminators, but I like running Terminators in another way. Let's talk about Lone Wolves. What do they look like in the Codex?
Well, Lone Wolves are something that's actually quite interesting, to be honest. So, as you know, Lone Wolves used to be their own unit. They're the last of the pack. They're gnarly veterans that run around by themselves, seeking a glorious death in battle. That is still the case, but they aren't a data sheet anymore. They are now a stratagem, which I love
crazy.
this. So if you have your unit at the start and they are then brought down to 1 model, you can spend 1 command point to increase his wounds characteristic by 2 and have reroll to hit and to wound rolls for the remainder of the game.
What?
Yep. It cannot be used on... It's only used on infantry and cannot be used on characters, servitors or wolfen. But if you have like that one Terminator that's been hacking through everything all game and he's the last guy left, you just spend 1 command point to make him a bit tougher so he can maybe just punch one of your characters to death or something.
That's really cool. It is a little unfortunate that they're going to lose their survivability from the that 4-up to ignore death ability. And a lot of people really were relying on that 4-up to ignore death ability.
Yeah.
I know some people who would run 3 lone wolves at a time, sometimes 4 back when they could do it. So, and that really gave them a lot of survivability on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So this will be interesting.
Yeah, you've got a lot of stratagems that you see recurring around the place. So you've got things which allow rune priests to become more powerful if they channel their living lightning together, their spells together. It becomes from a D3 to a D6 mortal wounds, which I love. It's like 3 rune priests all in communion just striking this one enemy with lightning. I mean, where can you go wrong? You've got some which Cunning of the Wolf is something interesting, which I really like. It's allowing you to outflank a unit. So those big unit of Thunderwolf cavalry at the start of the battle who are sneaking around the back can now come on from the side and charge into enemies like that. Maybe even sneak on and take an objective or something like that.
That one's fantastic. That's the one we got chapter approved.
Yes.
And it has been really useful.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. There's other ones which give you cloaking from storms. There's ones that give you more attacks in combat, easier to hit in combat, all stuff like this. It's just all good stuff.
I love that. That seems like it's going to take us back to being the close combat masters we're meant to be.
Yeah. So something else I personally wanted to talk about was with the unfortunate loss of Saga of the Warrior Born in the new edition, my Wolf Lord was no longer running around with 42 attacks after he ran through some Termagants, but something that they did add in was one of my favourite relics, the Black Death, which was this frost axe which gave your Wolf Lord more attacks. And I am pleased to say it is back. So it is the Frost Axe stacks, but it gives you an additional D3 attacks. Now, an additional D3 attacks, that's a mental at +2 strength, -2 AP. It's just allowing you to move through more units at a time.
That's awesome.
Other ones I quite like, the Wolfenstein. I quite like the idea of this one. It's a little stone and it sends everybody around you into a frenzy, giving them additional attacks. So you make one additional attack for models that are within units that are within 3 inches of the bearer when they attack. So those 3 attacks on Blood Claws on the charge are now becoming 4.
Can I take that on something on Cavalry?
I mean, yeah, it says models in friendly Space Wolves, infantry, biker, and cavalry within 3 inches.
Yes.
So if you've got your Wolf Lord running up with his stone, it's affecting his Thunderwolves around him as well.
Oh man.
It's you can't go wrong there. Just more and more attacks. It's just what Space Wolves are all about.
That's exactly what I want to hear. Let's talk a little bit about what Tempestus psychic spells we have, because one of my favorite abilities in 7th edition was Fury of the Wolf Spirits. Is it back?
You'll be pleased to say it is. It is back. Freki and Gary are back, but they are different. It gives you...
what do you mean by different?
It gives you 6 additional attacks at strength 5, -3 AP in combat. So
6 attacks,
6
strength
attacks.
5 -3 AP?
Yep, 1 damage, which I think thematically is amazing. This Wolf Priest, this Rune Priest calls upon Wolf Spirits, charges into battle, and these 2 wolves help him fight in battle.
And it's just melting through armor.
Oh yeah, -3 AP, that's Space Marines going down as well.
Oh, I love the inclusion of Wolf Spirits back in the fluff, back in the game. This is awesome.
It's great. I think one for me, my favourite is Living Lightning. Just that idea of Rune Priests casting lightning forth before them or dropping it down from the sky. So Living Lightning is still in it. It's a warp charge value of 6. Closest enemy within 18 suffers D3 mortal wounds. Now this is where it gets interesting. If you destroy the enemy, it then arcs and another person takes D3 mortal wounds. So I love this idea. If you've got like 2 squads that are low by each other, you just cast that lightning and it jumps from either one and kills them.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Oh, especially with that stratagem you mentioned.
Yes.
Where you could have them channel it in
one.
one.
Yes,
so
yeah.
D6, I could mow through a couple of units.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That is just great. Or characters as well.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. Jaws of the World Wolf as well is back. Well, I think it was in the index, wasn't it? But it's one of my favourite spells, the way that you can just imagine a Rune Priest opening the world up and somebody falling down. And now,
that's so cool.
The way this works is you select an enemy unit within 18 inch and roll 2d6 and subtract the move characteristic, and it suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the result. That's
cool.
2d6. I mean, most things are move 5 or 6, 4 if they're super slow. So the ability to open up the world and then fall through taking mortal wounds is great.
Terminators, aggressors, these slow-moving guys, it'd be perfect to target them with.
Oh, yeah. So I don't want to take too much of the fun away for everyone of discovering all the nitty-bitty changes on their own. So I'm not going to go through everything. Yeah, it's for you to kind of find out. But how do you feel about the new Codex and Methos?
I am definitely pre-ordering the minute it goes up available. I am super pumped for this Codex. And I'm just thrilled with a lot of the changes that are being made. Yeah. And some even little tweaks, like just that new army ability is making some of my favorite units better.
Yeah. I mean, from Index to Codex, we're seeing quite a lot of points reductions. I mean, Bjorn, Thunderwolves, Logan, as we've talked about, Wolf Lords, Canis, they're all going down by some as much as 30 points. So you're seeing the army coming a lot cheaper. So hopefully you'll be able to field even more of your favourite models on the table.
That's absolutely phenomenal, especially for such an elite army like we have.
Yeah.
You know, it's being able to get some of those bodies back is going to be super helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's quite a personal release, this one, because it's really given me inspiration to crack out some of the models that I've had for years upon years upon years of wargaming and really paint them up to a good standard and get them on the table for you guys. So I think it's a great new addition for me, and I just can't wait to get on with some more models.
This is re-energized my excitement for Space Wolves. You know, I'm committed. I'm a Space Wolf for life. This is just absolutely fantastic. Thank you guys so much for letting me discuss this new Codex with you.
That's right. Thank you for asking the questions. Alright, so I've said it before, I'll say it again. Thank you so much, Methos, for this. It means the world to have a fellow Wolf brother talking to me about something I'm very passionate about and can't wait to jump back into. And again, a thank you to Games Workshop for sending us this through to review for you guys. So, I mean, if you like the stuff, please like and subscribe the video, and if you want to help support us, pop over to www.wargameronline.com and sign up for the premium account. It's only $2.99 a month, and it really helps us out, and it gives us the ability to get more models and more equipment for you guys. So we followed Methos quite a while as a Wolf brother, and I understand you run a channel, so do you want to give that a quick shout out? I
appreciate that. Wolf Brother Methos from the channel Frost and Fist. Feel free to come over and check us out. And I have definitely, by the same token, been following WGO for a while. And even when you guys had 50 subscribers, you guys were one of my favorite channels. So I'm so excited to be here as part of this episode.
Okay, so I think with that, it's only right we say thank you again, and thank you for everyone tuning in. And I think we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Stay frosty, my man.